I was born May the 13th, 1900, at Windsor, Missouri.
Who were your parents?
My father was George W. Schweer. At that time of my birth, nobody had telephones, and my father and some of his friends organized the first telephone company in the county, the Missouri Union Telephone Company. And so our telephone number was number 3, and the fire department was number 1, and the hotel was number 2, and our resident was number 3. So many years, our telephone number was number 3 in Windsor.
Now, who was your mother then?
My mother was Elizabeth Holloway. She came from the country area.
So she was born in Missouri?
She was born in Missouri.
And what about your father? Was he born in Missouri?
He was born in Missouri, yes, St. Louis, I think.
Okay. So then, what about your grandparents?
My grandparents, supposedly 2 brothers, came from Germany to escape army service under the feudal system. And my grandfather was one of them, and I don't know what happened to the other one. But they settled up close around St. Louis, and they finally settled at Gerald, Missouri, built a family store there, and built a house there. Their house was built without nails. I think it's maybe still standing in Gerald, Missouri.
What was his name?
His name was John H. Schweer, my grandfather.
Now, did he spell it the same way you do?
Yes.
I wonder if there was a different spelling in Germany or here.
No. They weren't born in Germany. Their parents were born in Germany. My great-grandparents were joined. My father was born in this country.
But your grandfather, was he born in Germany?
I guess his grave is at, my grandfather's grave is at Gerald, Missouri now.
Gerald, Missouri?
That's the one that came over with his brother, right?
I guess that's it. There are some other Swiss in the telephone book. I suspect they're relatives of mine. I never got to talk to them. But.
And you remember the name of the store that they built?
It was just a country store, and it got to be for that area. He got to be, I think, politically inclined some way. I think he was a justice, so that I don't remember all of it, so I better not get hooked up on that.
Is there a photograph of him that still exists?
I don't think so. When I moved here, I burned a whole box of pictures. I didn't know who they. I expected his picture was among them. But then this telephone company started at Windsor, and of course everybody wanted telephones at that time, and it grew very rapidly. So he became the manager and the president of the company, and we moved the office to Clinton, Missouri. So I went to grade school up to the 8th grade in Windsor, and we moved to Clinton. I remember 1914, World War End, about that time. We moved, and I became a junior in high school there in Clinton. And I graduated from there in 1918, I guess.
Now, your grandfather, you remember what part of Germany that he and his brother came from?
All I ever heard him say was Baden-Baden. That's all I know about him.
Would have been what they called the Grand Duchy of Baden.
Uh-huh.
You said there used to be a Bible?
Well, we had the family Bible. It was about a foot thick. It had some, I don't know anything about that. I just know we had it. I couldn't read it, but when I moved, somebody borrowed it in the family, and I don't know where it is now.
Male or female?
I don't even remember.
When you grew up, was German still spoken in your household?
No, it was not. I remember my father singing German songs to me as a child. He would sing some of the German songs, but German was not spoken. In that day, German was given in the high school as a course. At Windsor, they taught German. Now I don't think they have it in high school.
No, some schools they do. Did you ever take it in school?
No, I'm not interested.
Now, when you were in high school, World War I was going on.
Yeah.
Do you remember much about World War I?
I just remember the celebration. It was a great hullabaloo, very noisy and loud. When the war was over, I remember. It seems at that time we were in Clinton. I think we moved to Clinton about that time, and it seemed to be around the courthouse an awful lot of noise making going on, celebrating when the war was over.
What were they using to make noise?
Oh, I don't know at that time. Just yelling and singing and bands. Is that about enough?
Oh. Well, do you remember when the troops came home back to Clinton?
What?
Do you remember when the soldiers came home back to Clinton?
No, I don't.
And what about your very first Christmas? Do you remember that? The first one you can remember.
I was in Windsor as a child. It was my first Christmas in Windsor.
Do you remember how the tree was decorated?
No, I remember a table with the stockings hung around the table, the little marble top table, and had our stockings hung around the edge of that.
Do you remember any kind of presents that you got?
Oh, heavens, no. We always got an orange at Christmas. That's always in our stocking.
That's good.
Always an orange. Of course, in that day, you didn't get oranges from California every day. It was something had to come by train or. So I did remember that at Christmas time there, we always had an orange at the bottom of our stocking.
Now, when you got out of high school, what did you do next?
Well, I came there as a junior in high school and graduated there in 1918. And I was a member of my parents. I was one of 9 children. And I remember my father saying that we had to go through high school, but after high school, we were on our own. And so I knew that he said he couldn't, all the 9 children, he couldn't send them all to college. They were about he said, well, you gave the idea that we were on our own, and so I decided I wanted to be a teacher. I went to first grade of school. I wanted to be a teacher. I liked my teacher, and I liked schoolwork, and always played school as a child. And I made up my mind I wanted to be a teacher. So when I graduated from high school, it was hard to get teachers. And women didn't go to college in those days, About the only way a girl could go to college would be a girls' school. They didn't turn you loose in any university. So I knew that in high school, they put teacher training in the high school, junior and senior. And so I took that class, junior and senior high school. And I graduated, I think it was 1918, and I had credits. And, when school was out, I guess I had pretty good grades. They made me a teacher right there in school, right after school. Right out of high school, 4th and 5th grade. So I taught there for just 1 year, and I decided I wanted to go on to college. So I knew the only way to go to college was to make my own way, and so I wrote William Woods College. That was controlled by the Christian Church then, and I wrote a letter to them and said that I want to be a teacher. I want to go to college. And the only way I could go is if I could get a self-help job. I'd like to come to your college if you'd give me a self-help job. And so I guess I wrote a pretty good letter because it came back and said, you've got a job. Dean's assistant, William Woods College. So for 2 years, I went to William Woods College. Graduated in 1921. Pictures down there on the board. As the dean's assistant, I helped with grades and all that. One of the problems I had is that watching her telephone now. They began to have telephones now, but you didn't have telephones in every room. You just had a telephone in the office that's that far along. So in Fulton, they had Westminster College where the boys went to school. So the boys of Westminster would like to have dates with the girls at William Woods College, but they couldn't tell the telephone. Nobody had a telephone. The only telephone they had was in the office. So the boys would call the office and ask if they could have a date with Mary Jane on a certain day at a certain time. And most of the dates were just parlor dates. They had to go out. There were no picture shows and all that to go to. So the dean got tired of that. So it got my job, as part of her duty, was to take the telephone calls and make some dates with the girls. I have to go see. They call us and get a date with Mary Jane. And most of the dates were just parlor dates. Had a big piano there. And we'd play and sing. That's about all we did.
What was the dean's name?
Martha Mackenzie Reed. She's long gone, I'm sure. I didn't heard anything after I left there. But that was part of one of my duties, was to answer the phone and make dates.
Do you remember who some of the teachers were then at the college?
Oh, I've got a yearbook down there. I couldn't remember. I don't remember their names.
Have you been back anytime recently to the college campus?
I recently, because I went to school on a scholarship, I felt indebted to William Woods, and I have recently set up a scholarship there for a girl who wants to be a teacher or a minister. And they keep close in contact with me. They talk to me all the time. Invite me to some of their parties and all that. Got a button on here at William Woods College that belonged to their president's board. I would get president's cabinet or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
So they gave me this pin. So I keep in touch with them.
Now, is the scholarship in your name?
Yes. Then I was only only had a 2-year college then. And of course I knew that I was ready to graduate in 1921. My sister was teaching in Walla Walla, Washington. No, she was teaching in Odebolt, Iowa. Primary teacher. And she was very good, but she didn't like Iowa. She wanted to leave, and they wanted to keep her because she was an excellent teacher, primary teacher. She said, the only way I'll stay is, I'm lonesome here now. My sister just graduated from William Woods College. The only way I'll stay is if you give her a job. And they gave me a job to keep her. So I went to Odebolt, Iowa for 1 year. A wonderful bunch of kids there, all Swedes, light-haired Swedes. No problem, they were good children. But I didn't like Iowa. It was cold, flat country. It took me about a year to straighten up after walking against those winds. Had a cold the whole year night, and I thought, let's get out of this place. So we didn't go. Summertime, we came back to Clinton home. And so then I thought, well, if I wanted to go to keep on going higher, I'd have to get a degree finally, I knew. So I still had some more college to do. So I got back home. I entered the summer school in Warrensburg, Missouri. And while I was I went, of course, as a student, and they gave me a job during the summer in my practice teaching in the high school, English. So during the summertime, I was a substitute teacher in the high school. And I was walking on the campus one day. It happened that the school board superintendent, William F. Knox, was teaching a class at the summertime. And he saw me on campus one day, and he said, hey, I want to talk to you. I said, what? He said, I need a teacher. I said, from Jefferson City, one of our teachers just died. And he said, I see you've got some pretty good grades on there. I want you to apply for the job. Well, I applied for the job. He was the superintendent of school, and here I am, 1926, been here ever since. How's that for a story?
Now, which school did you teach at here?
Simonson Junior High School, 37 years.
37 years.
So there are many people that know my name here. How many students would you have? 100. that the classes were always pretty crowded, about 30 in a class, and 5 classes a day. That's about 150 kids a day, 5 days a week. 37 years, figure it out. How many thousands? So I remember some of the best ones and some of the worst ones. And most of them.
I ask you which children stood out in your mind.
Well, I don't like to mention the names, but yeah.
You remember Miss Colson in your school?
Who?
Colson, Miss Colson.
Oh yes.
I had her too.
I don't know. Now, what else do you want to know?
Well, how did teaching change over the years that you were in?
Well, it's now my first salary was right out of high school, $45 a month. I was living at home. That's the only reason I could live. $45 a month, though. I think I bought the dress that I've got on down there on that picture from William Woods College. I think that $45. I bought that new dress. Had fur on the collar. So now you have to have a degree. You don't get it. You have to have a 4-year college degree in teaching for a job, and the salaries run now $25,000 to $30,000 a year, something in that neighborhood.
But you were probably unusual at that time, having any college at all, I was saying.
What?
I think you were probably unusual that you had some college at that time when you started out.
I don't understand your question.
Not very many people that you grew up with went to college at all, I would think.
No. Back in those days, about the only way a girl could was go to a girls' school. Now then, you know. And while I was in William Woods College, the students couldn't leave the campus without a chaperone. That was another one of my jobs. When school was out there, they said these old ladies, old bare-headed hens were our chaperones. And you couldn't go anywhere, leave the campus without, you couldn't go anywhere without a chaperone. And I remember horseback riding was one of the things we liked to do. But we had to hire a horse, a livery stable there, you know. The college didn't own the horses. Now they give you a degree in horsemanship then. But in that day, there were a few people that liked to ride horses as one of their exercises. So I was one of those. I had always had a horse at home, and I liked horses. So you don't leave the campus without a chaperone. So some of us who like to ride horses would rent horses from the stable, and we took a chaperone. You have to pay for her. I think it was $2.50. So I remember one time we took the chaperone, went on horseback riding. We had a trail we liked to a river where the water's just all about gone, you know. We like to ride up and down that trail. So the teacher was with us that time, and we ran on up and down the trail with horses. And somehow she hit a big pool of water some way. Her horse went down and got her wet all around the legs. She begged us not to tell the kids at school. She got so we never told anybody. She got back home, she got her clothes off, but she didn't tell anybody. Now she got wet. So the times have changed. I think now William Woods College, there's one of the colleges that offer a degree in horsemanship. They call that, what do they call this? Yes, degree in equestrian. Now they own their own horses. But I didn't have much money in those days. I don't even where they got the $2.50 to pay for her.
And did you have a car later on when you were teaching?
No, I never had when I left Clinton in 1926, my folks had an old car, and they always had their own car, but I used to get back home by riding the train. And so I didn't have a car of my own here until my father passed away in 1975, I believe. So I got his car then, and I brought his own car down here. And that's I'd have to buy new cars every now and then. It was a Chrysler, Dodge, So after I wore that old family car out, I got a new car. When I came here, I had a Dodge, a pretty good shape Dodge. I had 60,000 miles on it. And I used it for 4 years. I had money. I was saving my money because I knew that I was going to have to save retirement. I never married anybody. I was too busy. My mother was alone for about her last 10 years of her life. I had the teaching up here. I'd run down weekends to look after her in that big house in Clinton. And so I should have been romancing all those years, but I was busy running back and forth. Ice or snow or what, I put the chains on the car if I go anyway.
Did your father die first?
My father died in 1975. He died suddenly. He was a manager of the telephone company. He walked home for lunch, and he came home for one day and had his lunch, and he quickly pushed his plate back and used to always lie down on the couch a little while at noon. Had walked home. And my mother went and got him. She said, I happened to be in the house at that time. And she said, well, you left. We're going to have custard pie. It was your favorite. She went back from the couch. He came back, got his custard pie out there, and he ate it, pushed his tail back, went back to the couch, died just like that. Blood clot in the heart. 75 years old. His father had died at 75, and his mind was always made up that he'd 75 and he would die, and that's what happened. Never remember being sick at all.
How old was your mother when she died?
She was about 10 years later. She died in 84, I believe. She was 84 years old. He was 75 when he died. She was 84 when she died. She died in the same way. She had in our big house at Clinton. She had the steps repaired at the porch, and the last step was a little higher than the other steps. And she was out there sweeping steps, and she stepped down there and fell and hit across the broomstick between her legs and broke her legs. So I had to go down there and bring her back here to to Jefferson City, to the hospital. St. Mary's Hospital, the only hospital we had then. And a friend came with me and put her in the hospital here, and so I'd go by to see her every day. When I was teaching, I'd go on the way to school. I'd stop at the hospital and go on my way. This was a Saturday morning, and I went by the hospital. I said, well, I've got to go to school and do some work. It's Saturday, and I will come by and see you. And she said, well, bye-bye, I'll be looking for you. That's the last word I ever heard from her. When I got back to school, they called me and said she had died. Heart problem, just the same that way. Same thing.
Many of your brothers and sisters lived to your age?
I had a sister lived 101. The others did not.
What year was your father born?
Pardon?
What year was your father born?
What year did he die?
What year did he go to war?
What year what?
What year was your father born?
Oh, I don't know. He was just 75 years old when he died, that's all I know. Figure it out.
Do you know how old he was when you were born?
No, I don't know. He just, I was still living. I was down here teaching school when he died.
Now, during World War I, did you have any involvement with Victory Gardens or Liberty Bonds?
No. My father did. I remember he talked about it.
Yeah. And then what about the Depression?
Well, if young people don't pay attention to that. I don't know anything about it. Everybody had a depression, I guess. I don't know.
I guess as a teacher you had a job, even though
Yeah, that was it. I worked all those many years. I never married because I was too busy getting an education and taking care of my mother. And I did some dating, but I didn't have any serious. About my best chance, I was dating with the purchasing agent here. He belonged to the country club, so weekends after I came back from Clinton, we'd often go to the country club for beer and all that. So, weekends I was down there taking care of my mother. One weekend, he was a little older than I. He'd lost his wife, and he was a little older and had some gray hair. And one weekend, he followed me down to Clinton where I was going to see my mother, and I always took her to church on Sunday. And that's one of the things I did, and then come back here about Sunday afternoon. Well, he was down there when we took him to church with us, and everybody thought he was my mother's boyfriend. Had gray hair. So he was a nice friend and a very nice man to go around with, but there's no time for business like that. I was too busy. And now it's a big problem. I had a good life, a busy life. I enjoyed it. I met lots of good people. I did what I wanted to do. I would do all over again in the same circumstances. But now, my big mistake is I have no daughter to look after me, and I'm 104 years old, and I need somebody. I can't go anywhere now with somebody with me.
Do you have anybody that looks after you here? Any friend or?
I have friends. I say the church is my family now. All my family's gone. I've outlived all of them. I say the church is my family, and they're the ones that look after me. I have one good friend that takes care of my bookkeeping and business, and I have another friend. The other friend was come here today and help me meet you all. I was kind of afraid to meet this gang. I didn't know what was going to happen. She promised to come here to tell me what was going on. I don't know why she didn't show up here.
What about World War II?
Well, you know as much about that as I do.
So where were you when Pearl Harbor, when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Well, I was a teacher at school. I don't know where. I was here, junior high school. I lived in bedrooms around town for a while, and I finally, another teacher and I got together and lived in a duplex. She and I, Mildred Golson was a counselor then. So she and I got together and lived in a duplex for the last 30 years of her life and mine. And she retired and left. She and her brother left town and left me with the apartment there for 30 years. I mean, for 10 years after she gone. And so then I came here from there. On 1600 West McCarty Street on a duplex is where I spent most of my last years of teaching and living.
Did you own the duplex?
No, I had a chance to buy it, but I'm glad I didn't. I paid for it. I was there for 30 years, and so somebody else got it, but I paid for it.
What did Jefferson City look like when you first came here in 1926?
Oh, well, it was a big city, according to me, you know. Lots of hilltops, and it was quite a change from a little town. But I had been in Fulton and around, and William was. I had been around a little bit, so wasn't anything too different than anything else.
You still have streetcars when you came?
We had streetcars, yes. And when I first came to here, I lived with a preacher. Had been the preacher in our time, and he happened to be the preacher at the church here. Had come from my little town of Windsor, or Clinton, and he was a preacher of Christian church here. I lived with their family for a couple of years when I first came here, and I just lived around. Had a room here and there in the other place till I got this apartment.
Did you go to the Capitol very much when you first came here?
Not too much.
You remember the museum at all?
Well, I remember their high school people always had a big choral Christmas time. I think the first people who introduced that, having the chorus stand on those steps in the Capitol for singing, I think they're still doing that. It was started by Carl Burkle, and so one time I went with something like that. We had something.
Now, what about the south side where the Germans lived? Did you go down there at all?
about covers the country, doesn't it?
You remember when Thomas Hart Benton was here during his mural?
What was that?
Remember when Thomas Hart Benton was here and he painted the mural in the Capitol? That would have been.
I don't remember any particular. I know the name, but I don't.
What about some of the governors? You remember?
Well, I belong to the Century Club, and Governor Gardner, Mrs. Gardner, signed my certificate. The Century Club asked government officials to sign my certificate so that I couldn't fool anybody that I was 100 years old. So she was governor, if you remember, for her time. Her husband died, and she was, remember? Governor Carnahan, she finished his job.
Oh, yeah.
She signed my certificate. Century Club.
And, you get any advice for people?
Well, my church, we need a preacher down there now. We're looking for a new preacher, so now we have a minister. He's an interim minister. And so I said, while we have a chance, we ought to have an old-fashioned revival. So that kind of took off with him. And so that right now, they have a new building down there, First Christian Church, and they're doing all kinds of things to revival. And they made me, a picture of me like this, about that. I've got the girl that's going to come. She has made they did for the church what you're doing now. And I told her I'd lend you one of those if you wanted to see it. She said she'd make me a copy of it. So for about an hour, I talked about the church, and I said what they like to hear me say, that now the church is my family. You're the ones I depend on, and I think in the future that the church is going to be your social life. The world is too much with us, getting and spending. And you need some place where you can depend on people, and people who love you and people who take care of you. And I think you're going to find that in your church. That from here on, your church is going to be your social center. You won't have to go to the country club. We just built a new gymnasium for the children. And we hire a youth director at our church. It's very busy with young people. They all have their own volleyball club now, and all the churches around have their volleyball club. And so our boys will be playing against Methodist church or the Baptist church from now on. They're all. So I see that people are coming back to church. It's going to be, as I say, the world is getting and spending. You need someplace where you can trust people and where you can rest. And I think you're going to find that in the church. I find at my age, after all the living, the people I can depend on for friends are my church people. And so, of course, I said what they'd like for me to say, that church is my family. They've got that real. I told you, you could see it if you wanted to.
Did you go to Bob Blosser's 90th birthday?
I did.
Oh, you did?
I sure
did.
did.
Next door neighbor.
Huh?
He's our next door neighbor.
Well, it was quite a party.
Yeah.
Well, you knew all about that then.
Well, I wasn't there, but I knew his wife was coming to there.
Yes. He said that he would be the guest. The Bob Blosser family are very active in our church. I've been here for 4 years. I never went to church on Sunday morning, but Bob Blosser was at the door to greet you. And so I always say he's the doorkeeper in the house of the Lord. I always read him that way. Here's the doorkeeper in the house. I never went there. He wasn't there for great church people. So he had a birthday, 90 years old here. Like, you know all about that. Did you take a lot of pictures of it?
I wasn't there. I wasn't either. He just invited the church members.
So he invited everybody in the church as his guest, but I'll have to know, he's going to pay the bill. I'll have to know if you're coming, so you register. Well, he had 175 people to register for his party. And so in that gymnasium, they cleared it all out, beautiful gymnasium, high ceilings, all had movie equipment, everything in there. They had about 30 tables, big round tables, 6 at a table. And I guess we had about 200 people there, or maybe 300 for the party. And it was a beautiful music, and children's helping out, and children waiting the tables, and It was a beautiful party, and that's what I think you're going to find at your church is going to be your social center. That's where you have your parties. Plenty of room there now. There's no who has a room for 175 people. So it was a beautiful party, and I thought with the music, everybody was happy. Everybody was greeting each other after we had church service first. Then we had dinner. Everybody had dinner. Then at the afternoon, we just visited each other, and it was just about a few minutes in heaven, really. Beautiful music. Everybody was happy. Everybody dressed up.
I always admire Bob Blossom because at 90 years of age, he still cuts his grass.
His what?
He still cuts his own grass.
Yes. Yes. And his
My wife
son.
says to me, now, do you think he'll be cutting his grass if he lives to be 90? And I said, well, I hope so.
So they had a big party for me when I got 100 years. They had a big party for me down there in that gymnasium. And but I didn't pay for it. So we got, when our preacher, preacher left to retire, we had a big party for him, you know. So I could see now the church is your social center. They're the people who love you and the people you can depend on. The world is getting spent. That's now you need rest on Sunday. I just asked our preacher, I want you to preach a good sermon on remember the holiday, remember the Sabbath day, and keep it holy. You do everything else on Sunday now, but go to church. Too many vacant seats there. But as I see it, your church is going to be your social center. They're the people, and you need the rest on Sunday. We do everything else on Sunday, but go to church. Too many vacant seats up there. So the seats were all filled last Sunday. Believe me, Bob Hardy's his son. That church is full of people. Music was just have the best music we'd get. Everybody took a part. We had any talent at all.
Did you get any idea, why you live to be over 100 and some people don't?
Well, one thing is I don't take a lot of medicine. I go up and down here. I say, people are taking a pill. I say, I take a walk. You don't want to take a pill, I take a walk. And I think people are depending too much on medicine. And one of my doctors said, everybody's taking vitamins, you know. Dr. Winton, I liked him. And I said, everybody's taking vitamins. Should I be taking vitamins? Oh, he said, just eat plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables. So that was always his answer. So that's my answer is, you're getting chemicals in those vitamins. There's chemicals, all that stuff in your stomach, they begin to fight each other. And I just figured out maybe that causes cancer. So all these pills fighting each other. So that's been my policy. Get plenty of fruit and vegetables and don't take all that medicine.
You exercise?
And instead of taking a pill, take a walk.
Do you take walks?
I did. Now I've gotten so with this walker, I have to walk up and down the hall here. I need everybody in the hall. The rest of them can walk around the building. I used to do that. I can't do that with that walker anymore. The weather's bad and all. It's a fault. But that's what I have discovered. I've had a good, busy life. I've taken care of myself all these years, and now I need the church. That's the only family I have. They're the ones that look after me.
You remember the first airplane you saw?
Oh, heavens. I remember the first one I rode in.
Yeah, well, tell us about that.
Well, I got too much history to tell you about that. My sister married a hometown man, and some of his friends got in business in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And they harmed a business program. And they got in business importing American cars and things like that. So he and about 4 or 5 of his friends started a nice business at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, called El Expresso Federal, Federal Express Company. Their business was shipping largely. One of their big products was steel strapping for shipping, and they were agents for American goods. They sold a Pontiac car. So my sister lived in Rio she and her husband for about 40 years. And she and I were best friends, and she didn't wait very long until she wanted me down there to visit them. So I thought, I'll never have a chance like this before, so I asked the school board here. I said, I'm going to Brazil. If I'll have to give up my job, I said, well, can I get it back when I come down? They said, well, we won't. We have to have a substitute. And we might like the person we're taking, but he said, when you come back, you just apply, and if we have a job, we'll have it. So I said, well, you can have the job because I'll never have a job like that. I'm going. So my first plane ride was to Rio and back.
What year was that?
The first year I went down with them. They were here on vacation, and I went down by boat with them to spend that year. Then after I came back here for a year or two, I took another trip down there by plane. So instead of teaching school that 1 year, I had a year of American colony in Rio. It was really a very great experience. Lots of English people down there, American people in business. They were down there to make money. Their wives were there to just have fun. The wives playing bridge all the time, go to tea parties, and that 1 year we had a great time.
Remember what year that was?
That was about 1930, somewhere along there.
Now, where did you go to fly at?
Well, I took the airplane from Kansas City, I guess, and we changed planes in Miami, Florida, and then we landed in Lima, Peru. And my brother had gone down there to help my brother in the business, and they met the plane in Lima, Peru, and I took I took a train from there on back to Rio. So I had lots of experience.
Was you learning Spanish or Portuguese?
No, my sister, everybody had a maid down there. She had a Portuguese maid, and she said she learned kitchen Portuguese. And I studied a little bit, but I didn't take, nobody used it. When it was in the American colony, it's like you're in America. We had our own country club down there. Everything had American country club, and we had our parties at the country club. So you didn't see much of of course, they hired people in the office.
Yeah.
And she had a Portuguese maid that they had a house. They owned their house there and had a little house behind where the maid lived. And so all these women had housekeepers. They had time for playing bridge and party. The husband's out making money. They were out having fun, and the maids were doing all the work. No, I think you run off an awful lot of stuff on me here.
And did your sister have children down there? Or?
They never had children, and they've adopted 2 children. Brought them up here. My sister came back here one summer after church, and her husband said we could adopt a child, and she made a special trip up here, and we went baby hunting. And back in those days, there was a very they used to have homes for girls who were pregnant, and this was called the Willows, I believe, in St. Louis. The Willows, or Kansas City, I guess it was. The Willows was a prestigious home for girls, and we found a girl there that was pregnant, and they were waiting, and they said, we wanted a little girl, if possible. And they said, well, we'll wait and see what happens. And so we waited for several weeks of this, and sure enough, had a little girl, and we went, got her, brought her home. And she's, right now, is living in Connecticut, has a home there, and was married, has a family. So yeah, you got too much of my story right there. Well, it's been a long one, and it's been a good one. I've enjoyed it. I did what I wanted to do. My big mistake is now I don't have family, and the church is my family.
You seem to be in exceptionally good health.
I have had good health all my life. The trouble now is my sight is gone. Now I have to have help. I can't read a paper. I can't write a letter. I can sign a check and hope you can read it at the bank.
You listen to any books on tape?
No. I always thought everybody was writing a book, so I was going to write a book now, what a blind man can see. That's when I write my book, that's what it's going to be. I see things that I didn't see before. I meet you, I don't know whether you have a tie on, I don't know whether your shoes are polished. All I can see is your spirit.
Yeah.
I think that's what the Lord's going to look for when you. And so I watch people. I can't see plainly. I meet you on the street. I wouldn't know either one of you. I'd have to ask somebody. You'd have to tell you. You'd have to tell me who you were. But I learned to watch people, how they walk, and what they say, and what they do. And so I see lots of things that I didn't see before. I see things that are important that to most people are not important. I see that we have a beauty parlor here, you know, and I see all these women coming in, their fingers polished, sit there, all their fingers polished. And I never had my eyes polished because I thought hands were for to do something for you. And you get your fingers all pretty polished, you don't want to put that in the dishwasher anymore. So I wrote a poem. I love poetry, and I memorized poetry. I wrote a poem. Hands, 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 these millions of hands I see, black or brown or white may be, hands that work for God in me, baby hands that clutch so tight, makes one want to do the right, lovers' hands that clasp in glee, ripple smiles o'er human sea. Lord, whose hands are more potent? How can hands in summer, life's summer, serve thee? Whose hands are most worthy? Who can say? Hands that lift to heaven and pray, or hands that toil in soil and raise flowers and fruits for all mankind, or hands that minister the sick and blind? In winter, hands grow old and cold. Your life story has been told. Your record is in the heavenly hall. Lord, hold my hand when at last you call. That's my poem. I made that up. I got it because I watching people. I said the only thing about an animal and hand is you've got a hand. Those hands are not to be beautiful, they're to be do things with. And you know, all the girls now, that's the only thing about red. When you get those all covered up, you don't want to get any dirty work on those. You see? I don't ever put any color on my hands. No, I think you've had enough of me. What are you going to do with all this stuff? Now, listen, I don't want my name written all over every page. What archives?
State Museum. State Museum. It's over the Capitol.
Well, now, how do you get in there to see like that?
Well, if somebody wants to do some research or something, then I've got an office right now. It's in the Woman Building. You know the Woman Building?
Well, now, they give you pay for this? Do you sell them? Or somebody making some money out of this? If you do, I'm going to charge you.
Yeah, it's all non-profit.
So if you got any profits, I'm interested in the girls' town, like Boys' Town. You know, we've got a girls' town now that needs help. I belong to a club, a women's club that we. So if you make any money for her, I'll put that on the girls' town.
State employees.
Yeah. Well, I really don't like my picture. I have had it in the paper several times, and I don't like that. I don't like it. I had to wait 100 years to get any attention.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah. Now they won't let me alone.
And you used to sell real estate, too?
I saved all my money. I made enough money to live on myself. At first, $45, living at home. My father's friend was selling stuff called City Service at that time, and so I took part of that money and bought about 10 shares of City Service. I think it was City Service. But nowadays, we've changed times and names so much.
Yeah.
When I bought that about 10 shares, I don't know what I paid for it. It wasn't very much, maybe $30 a share, something like that. Put it away, forgot about it, and just let the interest build up. And instead of giving me the interest, I bought stock shares. And when I retired, I got a bookkeeper, so I said, I better see what what I've got here now. And I went through going the whole thing, and I found out I had several hundred shares of $50 a share. That's what I'm living on. I bought other stocks. They've all done well. I've made enough for myself to live on here. You got to have a little money to live in this place. I pay for it myself. I got it mostly and that's the way, I drove an old car for 4 years. I thought, well, I'll save my money now. When I retire, I'll get a new car. I just got the new car because when I moved here, I lost my sight. Had to give up my car.
How long did you sell real estate?
Well, when I retired in 1965, my brother came here. He was a telephone manager at Rollin, Missouri. He was in the telephone business. He came here to retire, and he was too young to retire, and I had just retired, and so we got in the real estate business together. And for about 5 years, I sold real estate with him.
You like selling real estate?
I did. It was different from teaching.
Oh, yeah.
Different kind of people.
Uh-huh.
Yes. I can see the difference between business people and people in education.
Oh, yeah.
It's, as I say, get and spend. That's the world is too much with us, getting and spending.
Oh, yeah.
That's the world.
But I'll have to tell Bob Wasser that we had a very delightful interview.
Well, he's already seen my picture.
Oh, yeah.
They did all this stuff, and at his party, I think they showed that picture. Or one of those.
I see him out in the yard every so often, and we kind of visit him, and his wife Marge is
Yeah.
over the house here.
Yeah.
We're good friends, next door neighbors.
Yeah, we had several parties, and on one of those parties, they showed my picture. What they're doing now.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Spent about an hour. So they got all this story, and you got it all over again.
Now we have our copy.
Every time there's a little something different.
Yeah. But I was, the girl that has my film that made it like you, I thought instead of letting me tell you all that stuff, I just said I was going to let you see the film.
Yeah.
So I told about the same thing that I told you.
Yeah. What about, I remember seeing your picture in the paper several years ago where you attended the 60th high school.
Yes. Yeah.
And they had you
Yes.
your picture with them.
I've been 4 or 5 high school class reunions I've been invited to. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of a nice affair.
Yes.
I'm sure enjoyed each one of them.
Yes.
And I remember you made that comment about you had to get to be 100 years old before anybody said anything.
Yes. Yeah.
There was something in the newspaper about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I tell you the same thing. I went all those years on my own.
Yeah.
Now they won't let me alone.
When they put that last large addition onto the church, didn't someone leave them some money that they were
Yes.
able to do that?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
I will leave my estate to the church. I don't owe anybody. Nobody owes me anything. I owe the church.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like to support.
Okay.
And I'm doing everything I can to promote the church because I think it's going to be your social center. That's going to be the other people who love you. And the world is too much with us, getting and spending.
And not getting any better.
No. That's a quotation from, I think, one of those poems. I love poetry. I love to memorize poetry.
Who's your favorite poet?
What's the big one in England? Shakespeare. That's one of Shakespeare's things. The world is too much winning, getting, and spending. That's where I got that. I love poetry. I love to memorize it. I love to read it.
That was a beautiful poem about the hand, about that.
I made that one up.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That's the only one I've done. I had thought about writing a book, but I just don't know about what a blind man could see. And then I thought, well, I like poetry so much, I'll just try my hand at it.
Very good.
That's what I had in my mind. I watch these people getting their colors all. I don't want any paint on my hand. But I'll,
Your glasses and put them back in your room where they were.
yeah, okay. All right, I can take them back. Well, now, listen, I think I've given you all too much stuff.
I know you probably can't see this, but
I didn't.
This is a form that lets us use it in the museum someday if we want to.
Oh, read what that
Read
says.
It says. It has a blank for your name. It says, give permission to the Department of Natural Resources, Jefferson Landing State Historic Site, Missouri State Museum, to reproduce, publish, and duplicate the audio tape, videotape, and all photographs taken or copied during this oral history interview conducted on December 9th, 2004 by John Viessman and Henry Ginsky as a contribution to the scholarship of Missouri history. And it has a space for you to write your name.
What's that scholarship amount to?
That means like study of history.
Oh, are you offering a scholarship?
No, it means
Who offers a scholarship?
It's not a scholarship like a school. They just mean that if you're studying Missouri history, they consider that a scholarship.
Well, I'll get some money for something. For Girlstown.
The old clock that you have in your room, is that something from the family?
That's my family. Always my job on the fireplace that we kept the hawk. It was always my job to wind it, and by golly, I'm still winding it.
Oh, I just thought of that.
It's got perfect time. It's a pendulum. It has to be. There's no electricity. If I can keep it on the level, it has perfect time.
You wind it once a week?
Yes. It's not running most of the time because if you can't keep it level, you run the sweeper through there, you shake it up, you break up it has to be completely level, and sometimes just walk through the room, I'll just stop it. I don't know. You got Nellie Schweer's, all that stuff from Nellie Schweer's over there in that place?
Yeah. Yeah, she's in the file.
Who else is in there?
Let's see. Wilbur Phillips, who used to work at the Capitol.
I don't know why anybody would want all this stuff.
Living history of that. So they can look back at the years and say, oh, yeah.
Well, somebody who's not even born yet is going to find this very interesting.
Well, I don't suppose it hurts anything, but I really don't like. Who goes over to those?
Well, professors, students researching history, and then the staff may use it for an exhibit someday. Like I say, sometimes one little thing you say will come in handy for an exhibit down the road.
Are you going to give me a copy of this?
Oh, we could, yeah.
Well, you better just give me a copy then. That's what they got there. We'll get a copy.
Yeah, we'll get you a copy, right?
Then I'll sell them.
You're going to tell it all the time.
This is a spot where you need your name.
Oh, I guess I don't like all this stuff. I got into this before I knew it. I can't see what I'm.
Oh, it's right up here.
And you probably can't read it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I use Ann L as my signature on it.
Yeah.
Can you read it?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been back down to Gerald, Missouri over the years?
No. I wonder if that old house is still down there. It was built without nails.
Yeah, do you have any idea where that's at?
Gerald, Missouri. It's
What's the address of what street?
it's such a little town, and
We can just ask for the Schweer.
some of the residents I think lived there for a while. I've lost contact with it. But my father's buried at Windsor, and my mother. That's where I'll be buried. But our great grandfather's buried at Gerald, Missouri, and some of our aunts and uncles in the cemetery at Gerald.